They're not all winners, but I try to play for the average. So. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. If you could take your seats, it's a little bit past 9, and I want to make sure that we are on time so we can get you out on time. So if the council members who are here could come forward, we'll get started here in the next couple minutes. How are you? Oh.
I thought that was very good.
Well, thank you.
I thought that was really good.
Well, I think that's how I've conducted myself.
Yeah.
So. Morning. I'm all right. But we just got started.
I realized I'm sitting in the car and I'm listening to the radio and I'm thinking, this one really won't even last that long.
Yeah, you may be right. All right, council members, if you're here, come on up here. It may be just us. Now, I see Lee Barnes over there. Yes. Okay. It's probably not a bad idea. I don't want to butcher it. All right. All right, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to our second public hearing on our annual budget. My name is Scott Wagner. You could, yeah, if you want, you can. Sure.
I mean, we're sitting so far away from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Come on down. We're very family friendly around here. My name is Scott Wagner. I serve as both Mayor Pro Tem as well as Chair of our Finance and Governance Committee, which is why I'll be leading this meeting here today. I also serve as the councilman of the 1st District at large. And so thank you to our district residents for coming. And for those of you who are not from the 1st District, welcome. We are glad you're here. We are going to spend the next couple of hours reviewing our annual budget. We will start with a general introduction by all the council members who are here. As other council members that come, if they make it, we will embarrass them thoroughly, so don't worry about that. We will then have a presentation of the budget by our budget department, and then we will take your suggestions, your comments related to the budget. Speaking of which, I will be calling out your name based on whether or not you have signed in on the sheet when you came in, and also whether or not you have mentioned that you would like to speak or not. Generally speaking, we'll give you at least 2 minutes. However, depending on the total number of people who have made a request to speak, and if we're still within time, we'll give you a little extra time as well. We do have over here our timekeeper with colorful folders to tell you just how much time that you have. I do not have Oscar music to play if you go over, but I hope that you will respect the time that is given to you. With that, why don't we start to my far right with some introductions, Councilman.
Thank you. Dan Fowler, 2nd District, in District.
Hi, Heather Hall, 1st District in District. Welcome to our district today.
I'm Jermaine Reed, 3rd District City Council Member.
Catherine Shields, 4th District at large, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I have a funeral to go to, so I'll probably be leaving a little before 10.
All right, thank you.
But it's nice to be with you this morning.
Thank you very much, Councilman.
And good morning. I am Lee Barnes, 5th District at large City Council person.
Holding up the entire Left side.
That's right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Holding down the south side.
How
appropriate.
How appropriate. We'll leave it at that. I do note that our city manager, Troy Schulte, is entering in the back, but I also want to recognize that we have a number of folks from our various departments who are here. And if you are here from various departments of the city, would you please raise your hand just so you can kind of be recognized? I thank you all for being here today, and I recognize them because if a comment or question may be more appropriate for them directly, we'll try to match you up so we can get those questions or those concerns answered. With that, I'm going to welcome Mr. Krasanowski forward, who will talk about this year's annual budget. Good morning, sir.
Morning, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming, providing your valuable feedback. I know the City Council really takes into consideration the feedback offered by residents in the adoption of the city's budget for the fiscal year 2019-20. So we're going to go ahead and get started. There we go. The budget this year is about $1.73 billion, and it's about a 4% increase, which is very strong. That's bolstered in large part by growth in the earnings tax and some of our other revenue sources. We have this strong growth. We also have a $21 million increase in public safety, or about 4.7%, an increase in infrastructure funding, and the budget is balanced as submitted. This also comes with lower water rate increases over the previous years. One of the programs that contribute to the budget, which of the $1.73 billion, almost 2/3 is segmented out to specific programs by law. One of those is the Capital Improvements Program. Of that program, $231 million is in pay-as-you-go capital across all of our funds. $17 million is dedicated to street preservation in the current year, which is a 70% increase over previous years. We have $26.1 million in neighborhood preservation projects, or PIAC program, for those familiar with the program. We also include funding for 18th and Vine Phase 2 and additional funding for our Parks and Recreation Department and building maintenance. The budget process also includes the GeoBond program, and this year's GeoBond proposal is $48.4 million in GeoBond projects, which will be considered by City Council as part of the budget process. Some of our program highlights include funding for the new Kansas City Animal Care Facility, $1.9 million for the Healthy Homes Initiative, which was implemented in the interim of the current year, and funding for the American Jazz Museum. We include $1.4 million in new right-of-way mowing for the Public Works Department, in addition to $363,000 for pavement marking. We're increasing our snow and ice budget this year and our snow and ice remediation capacity, as well as new fleet for the Public Works Department. The Convention Center Capital Replacement Program is almost $5 million this year. We also are maintaining our health and safety net funding in the current year and adding a park safety program that includes 6 new park rangers. This budget identifies public safety as one of our top priorities, which has been a consistent priority throughout the years. So I'd like to highlight some of the interesting components of the police department budget in the current year. The new police department budget is $261.9 million. It's the second largest budget in the city. And this includes 24 new patrol officers and 15 dispatchers added in the previous year. We also have a $500,000 increase to the KCPD foundation match and $300,000 in information technology equipment replacement through our One IT program. The fire department is one of our other largest departments in the city and comes in at $188 million. This is a little over a $13 million increase over last year's budget, and most of that is in wages and benefits for firefighters. We are including 21 new positions in the fire department, and that is a big part of that increase in the fire department budget. That's some of the highlights of the current budget and what goes into the budget, but we'd like to talk a little bit about the legislative process that goes into the budget adoption. On February 14th, the Kansas City's fiscal year 2019-20 budget was submitted to City Council. Over the next month, they're going to deliberate on the budget. This is the second of the budget hearings going into the budget process, and we are aiming for an adoption of the budget on March 21st, on which City Council will vote on the current submitted budget. This is the second of our hearings after our first postponed hearing, and we're still waiting on word as to when we may reschedule our first hearing that was postponed because of snow and ice. Our next hearing will be at the Greg Kleiss Community Center on March 2nd. If you want to interact with the budget and you can't attend one of these hearings, we offer Kansas City Open Budget, which is the full budget data, which is you can drill down to the program level and really look at what's in the Kansas City budget. You can find that at budget.kcmo.gov for our open budget client. We also offer a tool called Balancing Act, in which residents can submit their own budget proposals at a very high level to City Council. And if for any reason you can't attend a public meeting, we offer KC Momentum, which is the city's online town hall program. We collect comments on all of the issues involving the city. The budget will be the most contemporary one, and all the comments are given to City Council for their consideration prior to budget adoption on March 21st. We want to thank you all for coming. You can find more information at kcmo.gov or at any one of our social media handles at KCMO. You can also find the budget office at our various social media handles at the bottom, and we want to thank you all for coming. Any questions?
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Don't break it. Otherwise you got to buy it. That's what I'm always told. Dropping the mic. All right. As promised, I want to heavily embarrass all the latecomers. We want to welcome Scott Taylor from the 6th District at Large. Wave. It was his birthday yesterday. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, but we can save the song for after the budget hearing if you'd like. All right. Right now, I only have 6 people who have identified as wanting to speak today. So if we'll give you 3 minutes to go through, and if we pick up any stragglers, we will give those folks that opportunity. Again, our timekeeper is right there. She has the very colorful folders, so she will tell you whether or not you're getting close to your time. I'm going to call the first 3 folks so that everyone can get ready. The first 3 that I have, and forgive me if I am not reading correctly, I have N. Simons. Nancy. What? Followed by Tanisha Looney and Tim Johnston. Nancy, good morning.
My name is Nancy Simons. I'm with the Blue Valley Neighborhood Association on the east side of Kansas City, east of Prospect, Troost, 18th and Vine, and Indiana. I would like to thank the council, the mayor, the city manager, and for all the city workers for all they do. What I'm here to talk about today is some solutions to the problems of low life expectancy and many factors on our east side. I agree with Mr. Duffy from Legal Aid. Rent should be around $600 or $700. Why most families in the Blue Valley area don't make over $20,000 a year. I was raised there and have seen a slow growth. I know things can change. I was a founding member of the Kansas City Police Athletic League and saw many partnerships in the community. Once again, violence is very high level in our area. I believe people are stressed out and don't have the means to take care of their families, so they need to survive. Blue Valley does want change. We are doing a documentary on Blue Valley at this time. I'm asking the City Council to make sure that neighborhoods and housing has the funds to go to the neighborhoods like Blue Valley, to empower neighborhood leaders to help their area and direct the money to go there and show results of that neighborhood. I have worked on the streets for over 30 years and helped many families and youth supplement their income by cleaning lots, streets, and so far made possible by city dollars. The wheels are starting to turn, but we are asking for your help. The most important thing I tell the youth, stand behind your word. Here is a picture of some of the youth. Two, their mother was a former gang member in the 90s. And now these youth, they want to change the east side of Kansas City, and they're cleaning up their area. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Tanisha, back again.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tanisa Looney. I am the president of the Kansas City Homes Tour Experience. As he said, I'm back again. That is an Urban Core Homes Tour that was created last year in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of fair housing. It's more than actually just a homes tour. Like she said, a lot of families are paying high rents, and why rent? We have the homes tour focused on bringing education and resources to people in the urban core who would normally find the information about becoming homeowners. So it's more than just taking people around to see homes in the urban core that are for sale. The homes, might I add, were affordable and quality homes. So most people don't understand that owning a home is for less than most times than renting. And I've had the support of the Kansas City, Missouri, the city of Kansas City in the past, and for numbers purposes, last year the two tours, spring and fall tours, created 33 homeowners and around the urban core, and I feel like that's great numbers. And so we're going to create 2 more tours, spring and fall this year and every year going forward, to help create more more homeowners around the city. And so to continuously put on these tours, we would like the city of Kansas City to support and put $50,000 in their yearly budget, in their housing budget, to continually go put on these tours.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much. Tim, followed by Keith Nelson.
Cramp my leg. Good morning. My name is Tim Johnston. I'm a 34-year resident in the Briarcliff area, which is the 4th District north of the river. I'm chair of the North Oak Focus Group. I'm also a North Oak TIF Commission committee member. I'm also the co-founder, along with my daughter, of the Briarcliff Trails, our community organization. I would like to speak to you today about North Oak Trafficway. The current construction project from 32nd Street, north of Cascone's restaurant, is fantastic. I'm down there every day, and it is going well, other than the weather. Many thanks to our 4th District Councilwoman, Catherine Shields. You pushed for this thing. I'm so happy. Thank you. We're all happy. Councilman Wagner, I know you moved this thing forward. I can't tell you how happy everyone is that this is underway, going on. At a meeting last week, we were told by KC Public Works that the next phase of this North Oak reconstruction project, namely from Vivian Road south to Briarcliff Parkway, is to start this year. We, as a community, greatly support and ask that this phase of the reconstruction in North Oak get underway. In June of 2009, the KC Council approved the Briarcliff-Wynwood Area Plan, and in that plan was the reconstruction of the entire section of North Oak Trafficway. And one of our top priorities was that reconstruction plan. So here we are 10 years later. We want to get it done. This entire section is, as you know, if anyone's driven on it, it's just an old dilapidated, curbless, no sidewalks, plain old crummy trafficway. I worked on that last night. So here we are. As the major gateway in the Northland, North Oak Trafficway needs your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your advocacy and all of that, Tim.
You bet.
And since your daughter's here, I'll thank her too for helping him out. Thanks, Jenny. All right. This ought to be good. Keith Nelson.
Hi, I'm here just to support Tim and the Briarcliff-Wynwood Area Study Plan. As he pointed out, that was approved in 2009. Prior to that, we had a North Oak, it was called North Oak Corridor Land Use and Development Plan, which we folded into the Briarcliff-Wynwood Area Plan. But all of this talked about what we needed to do to improve the area with streetscape and it's a key issue here. As most of you know, North Oak was always the gateway to the Northland. And so you can see the amount of deterioration on that business corridor because things have not been improved. This gives us a great opportunity to make improvements which would help stabilize the neighborhoods and help to revitalize the neighborhoods. There's several neighborhoods in this area that are low income and workforce housing neighborhoods. So we have to be able to help those things survive, those homes survive, so we have a good neighborhood. So I also appreciate the start with the GO bond on the south end of North Oak. We in the Northland feel we didn't get our fair share during the GO bonds, and one of the big issues is sidewalks, to where we have to use our PIAC dollars to match 50% to build sidewalks. There's more in the first annexed area. There's more neighborhoods without sidewalks than there are with sidewalks, and the plan, the GO plan, was to pay for fixing sidewalks. So this, in order for us to comply with that, we've got to use our PIAC dollars to build sidewalks. So we feel like we're shortchanged a little bit here. We appreciate it. We'll keep piecemealing together for roads like we are for North Brighton and some others. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith. All right. Next, I have, and forgive me, Kate, come on up.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Kate Hoppy, and I am a constituent in the 4th Council District. I also serve as a Kansas City, Missouri Health Commissioner. And I come to you today across both of those roles, concerned by the proposed cuts to both the Health Department and the Innovation Fund, which together, those cuts total nearly $1.3 million. Our community is only as strong as the health of our people. And the health of our people is directly supported when we fund evidence-based public health prevention initiatives that meet the fundamental health and safety needs of our community members. The Health Department and the Health Commission have been accountable for our work with our safety net clinics to ensure that the people in our community of needs have the required public health preventive services to be healthy. We need to support these efforts through our Innovation Fund and support the ability of our Health Department to ensure the health and safety of our community members. That is why I call for the restoration of the $400,000 in proposed cuts to the Innovation Fund, as well as a restoration of the nearly $900,000 in proposed cuts to the Health Department. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I have Brenda Cum, followed by Anita Gorman and Stacy Johnson Cosby. I have a feeling I know what you're going to say.
Good morning. I don't have to say it. She just said it. Great job, Kate. I want to thank first Kate Hoppy as one of my fellow health commissioners. My name is Brenda Cum. I am what is called the community co-chair of the Health Commission. My counterpart, who is the council co-chair, Licia Canaday, Councilwoman Canaday, is unable to be here today, but I would thank her for her support and advocacy for health as a priority in the city, as well as Councilwoman Heather Hall, who also sits on the commission, for her continued belief and support in prevention as the driving force in reducing our healthcare costs overall in the city. So I had to put on my readers to make sure I'm getting it all in. I want to just say that what we're, again, I don't want to reiterate what Kate said, just that we are opposed to the cuts to the Health Department and to the Health Innovation Fund. And I know in previous discussion, I just want to reassure Council and the Mayor that the dollars, we take very seriously in the Health Commission the accountability of these dollars with the health levy funds. These are the taxpayers' dollars. I'm a taxpayer, they're my dollars, and it's really important to me that they're used wisely as they are to the whole commission. And we want to reassure you they are being used for their intended use, even through the Health Innovation Fund. And the Health Innovation Fund, while we make sure that our basic medical needs are met with our safety net providers, and in conjunction with that, we want to have a two-pronged approach, right? This is the wise investment. The wise investment is to focus on prevention. We want to stop being firefighters. We want to prevent the fires before they start. This is wise use of taxpayer dollars. So, for example, in the Innovation Fund, the Northland Health Access is receiving funds through that Innovation Fund in order to increase access to mental health care for those most in need. And that's how it's being used just here in the Northland by one of our safety net providers. So again, we're asking for the restoration, funding to the health department, and keeping that Health Innovation Fund. We've got it for 1 year. We want to keep it going, and we promise we're going to see those cost savings so that we can move forward as a city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Ms. Gorman. I think we should have just brought the microphone to you myself, but appreciate you making your walk. Good morning.
And thank you very much. I'm here concerning Starlight Theater, not exactly located in the Northland, but nevertheless very important to the Northland. Jack Stedman and I began asking for money, as Catherine Shields Wells knows, in 1983 from PIAC, and we were always very well taken care of. As a result of that, for every dollar that we received from the city, we raised $6, and the Starlight Theater that was threatened to be closed in 1988 is now the finest such facility in the whole country. We're very proud of it, but things have changed, and we were asked to move from PIAC to directly have a line in your city budget. I've been told that this year's city budget, there's nothing in our line for Starlight, but the $300,000 that we're asking for it is coming from the park board. We're part of the park board, no question about that. But the truth is, we deserve the $300,000 not to be taken from the park board, because when we voted for those bonds in 2012, they were for specific things that did not include Starlight Theater. Troy Schulte gave us a very fine compliment when he became city manager, because he said, Starlight Theater is one thing I don't have to worry about. And we like to keep it that way. But one thing we did, and we started this in 1950, and I remember it very well. We said, if we had a Starlight Theater, we would give 340 seats free every Broadway night. And we have kept our word. We're asking you to keep your word now and to give us money in our designated spot in your budget and not rob the park board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. I have Stacy Johnson Cosby. Good morning.
Good morning. I come to you from South Kansas City from the 6th District. I'm Stacy, where I'm also a candidate for City Council. I'm Stacy Johnson Cosby, and I'm here to talk about public safety and looking for support. As I did last year, I ask that you please consider additional officers, and I know that the proposed budget has 0 police officers, and I would like you to reconsider that, because every day when we wake up and we see on the news some crime or some murder, that tells us that there's a problem. I know we got officers last year. It clearly wasn't enough. We need additional officers this year. One of the things that I'm hearing a lot from people in the community is they have a concern about crime. And I think the city has a responsibility to respond to that. And the response would be to increase the police officers. It sends a message to the criminals, two things. Number one, that the police are out there and that they are on the streets, and maybe it'll serve as a deterrent that they won't commit the crime because they know the officers are there. But number two, once the crime has occurred, that we have enough police officers to solve the crime. That sends a message as well. And the criminals know that there's a good possibility they will get caught. Perhaps they won't commit the crime. And it gives the public a sense of safety as well. And secondly, firefighters. I know that we have 15 firefighters proposed in the budget, and I think that is not enough. Again, we have a concern, and I know north of the river with response times, but we need to make sure that the firefighters, and they are actively recruiting, and I understand that they're recruiting in ways and places that they never have before, that when they are actually fortunate enough to get some recruits that are willing to work, that we have enough funds to fund them and to pay them. The overtime is a result of not having enough officers. We need more firefighters, we need more police officers, and that, of course, helps with citizens having confidence in our public safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, I had a maybe, Mr. Ryman. What do you think? Maybe yes? All right.
Rob Ryman. I live down in the River Market. Like many people in the room, I am not a 35-year person that has lived in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm a transplant. I come from the suburbs. I've moved to the urban core because I love what you represent, love what you're doing, and I love the trajectory of where the city is. One ask, couple of things. One is I would say you have many constituents placing demands on you for budget decisions. My ask would be this: as you make budget decisions, please think about our children and our children's children. The world we live in is the only world we have to live in. So as you make decisions, think about our children. Part of that, I would say, an important part of that is mass transportation. It's a big budget item, and I'm actually glad it is, because it's not a very sexy item, and it's hard to kind of step up to providing transportation for everyone in the city. Part for me is our streetcar system. I love it. It's a big part of the reason we moved from the suburbs down to the urban core. Thank you for everything you all do. You guys are a power. We love it. I love what you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, that takes us through everyone who has signed up. So, if you didn't sign up, but now you feel like saying a little something, now is the time to do it.
Can we go to the other side of the room and get 3 more minutes?
No. Because I know if you tried that, Keith, you'd shoot for 6. But good try. You never know until you ask. Okay, going once, going twice. Come on up, sir.
My name is Gary Mitchell. I'm a lifelong Kansas City resident, live in the 3rd District, and also have business in the 3rd District. And my request for consideration is for the small business community, asking that we examine the opportunities to have more resources and programs available for building the entrepreneur community in Kansas City. I think right now there's approximately 150,000, but knowing the amount of small business owners and entrepreneurs who want to grow their businesses in Kansas City, I think there needs to be more resources and programs available for them.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? All right. Thank you very much for all of your testimony today. That was apparently the cue for Councilman Quentin Lucas to come.
I was going to testify.
Yeah. Well, you'll have your moment in just a moment. With that, we'll have some closing comments from each of our council members who are here. But before we have them, I neglected to thank the North Kansas City School District for allowing us once again to take over their building and have this public hearing here today. So I don't know who is here. I don't necessarily see them offhand, but whoever is in here from the North Kansas City School District, thank you. And please take that to Dr. Clemens and to the board as well. With that, we'll take some closing comments from my colleagues up here. I'm worried about you. Yeah. Yes, yes, you can. Councilwoman Shields.
I'm just going to speak briefly. Again, thank you all for coming out. Thank you for the staff for the time you give us weekends and evenings for these types of citizens meetings. Appreciated hearing the testimony. I think you all hit on some very important points. My kind of concern, I spoke about potholes last meeting. I'm concerned, I'm going to focus today just on the issue of the fact that we're taking $9 million out of our surplus funds to make this budget work. I'm very concerned about that. It appears as if much of that money is going to new positions. We may very well need those new positions, and we need to look at that. I understand with the firefighters that the new positions are based on on the hope to cut overhead, overtime, and I think that's very important. I'm just concerned with a step where we have a budget, particularly when we're doing a transition from an existing mayor to a new mayor, existing council to a new council. That's a big hit to our surplus, and I think we need to really look at those numbers and see whether we're going to be in this same position 12 months from now where we're taking another $9 million out of our surplus, out of our reserves. Because if we do, we're then going to be below 2 months emergency expenses, and I think that's a dangerous position for our city to be in. So thank you very much, and I look forward to working with everybody over the coming year.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Shields. We'll go on to Councilman Reed. Sorry.
Say thanks to all of you who have come today. This meeting sometimes seems like it can be long or it can be short, but it really is important for us as we go through this actual budget process. And I do appreciate everyone taking time out of their Saturday. Catherine, you left your coat. Yeah,
I do want that. I'll notice that when I get out.
kind of cold outside. But I think, as I've said the other day, this is one of my favorite times of the year, where we have an opportunity to hear from citizens about, the things that are important to them. And I do appreciate much of the testimony that was given. Many of you, while oftentimes the room may not be packed, you represent a very diverse group of constituents, and you come and be able to elevate their voices and things that are of most importance to them that also have a huge impact in our entire city. And so while I know that many of you all are probably too young to know what a record is, but I'm going to sound like a broken record here.
Keith Nelson knows what a record is.
Anita Gorman may as well. But no, I pick up where Councilmember Shields left off in terms of the potholes, and I asked for an example. How many of you all, by show of hands, have run over a pothole? Yes, that was probably everybody in the room. And the reality of it is that we need to make sure that we are addressing our basic city services, our street preservation, and doing a number of things to make sure that we're not riding on Tim Johnson, you said flat, crumbling, torn, crappy infrastructure. And that's the reality. I hope I probably paraphrased it a little, but I think that's the reality of what people unfortunately are experiencing. And these are the bread and butter kitchen table issues that folks are talking about every single day. I said the other day that I personally have torn up my axle in my car and had to have it all repaired completely because of potholes in the city. But we should be ensuring that we are providing just these basic city services for everyone, that we're not riding on these type of flat, crumbly, torn, crappy infrastructure in Kansas City. The issues of violent crimes, of course, is really of huge importance to us. I think the one issue, Nancy, I really appreciate you coming and elevating the importance of our neighborhood and housing department. We clearly have to do a lot more to empower our neighborhoods and appreciate that. And so we have a lot of stuff, of course, to discuss throughout this budget process, and there's a lot of give and take. I think oftentimes, if I can channel my inner Scott Wagner, he would say something along the lines of, if we take from one place and put it in another place, you know, it's taking from another place, and we've got to figure it all out.
I say it better than that, but you're close. Yeah.
No, you don't.
We don't like it anytime.
Woo, it's pretty early. You better leave me alone because I'm just warming up. But, you know, overall, we really do have a huge budget before us and a lot of competing priorities. And it's important that as we go through this, that we are trying to do the best with what we have. And so I'm looking forward to future discussions. I think that in my term on the council, I have probably only missed no more than a handful of public meetings for the budget out of 8 years, because this is so important to me as we work through and do our due diligence from the manager's budget that has been submitted to us from the manager and the mayor and the core staff and all the work that they've done. So I'll stop there, turn it over to you, Heather Hall. Let's see what you got.
Well, I'm not so sure I can top that, so that's pretty good. Thank you very much for coming out this morning. You know, we do, I don't want to say we have to be here, but it's our commitment to you to be here as the people who you've elected to represent you. You don't have to be here. And so I want to say thank you for coming out on a Saturday morning or any time of day you come out and support the things that are important to you, because like I said last week, I'll say it every day, this isn't our budget, it's your budget. We work for you. It's not the other way around. And if we don't know what you want and we don't understand what's important to you, then we can't help craft the budget to reflect the things that are important to you. And when you have $1.7 billion, there's a lot of things that mean that they're important to you, and we want to spend the money in the right way to be as efficient as possible. We need to and continue to, based on what I hear you all saying when you come up here to speak, we need to work on things that are preventative in our city. How can we do things, nip it in the bud, so that we aren't spending money later on things that we have to take back? It's so much easier to train people well at the beginning than take it back out away of later on. And that works in our health, that works in our education, that works in our law enforcement, that works in our how we take care of our homes so we have better fire prevention. There's all sorts of ways that all of you in this room all work together to do preventable things already, and we need to help maintain that and work with that and reflect that in our budget. One thing I will say, I just want to answer a couple questions that I think I heard being spoken. I want to make sure we rectify that. Last year's budget, we did add the budget for more officers. And I'm looking at Doug because I don't remember how many we put in the budget. Was it 24? 24. Okay, thank you. And those 24 officers, I know someone said we haven't seen any help in that yet. What we need to understand is, first of all, last May we said yes to the money. So here you go, police department, you get the money. But it isn't instantaneous. You don't get a police officer that day. What happens is now they go and they post it, and they go out and they recruit and they find people they can hire. Then they take them through rigorous amounts of exams to make sure they qualify to go to the academy. Then they go to a 6-month academy. Then they are on probation for X amount of months, which I don't know, maybe 3 months, 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
They're on break-in period for 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
6-month probation.
Okay, so basically they haven't, since May when we approved the budget, they haven't even gotten to start yet doing what we asked them to do, because it's such a rigorous job description to get ready to be a police officer in Kansas City. So when people say they haven't seen anything yet, you're right. They haven't gotten to do what they need to do yet because it takes that long to get there. So we need to build in some time to be patient for here's where they are. And in this current budget, in fact, we are budgeting for approximately 15 new officers. It's in there already. So we are working that, but the problem is it's a staggered approach. It's not instantaneous. So we just ask you to continue to be patient with that. On the second part of prevention, the fire department has done a great job. They're instituting this really exciting new employment program, and I believe the deadline to apply is March 8th. Correct. Thank you, Chief. So March 8th, if you are interested in applying to be a firefighter EMS in Kansas City, this is your opportunity to do that. We do need more firefighters, but we don't get them if you don't apply. So please come and apply, because this is a great place to be and work and protect and serve our community. And that's a great thing to do. So I just wanted to make sure we knew that those two items, I felt like they weren't clearly explained when some people were making some of their comments. We are working really hard in the budget to do those preventative items in health, fire, police, all the different areas that we're doing that. Because again, it is important to us. So if you're here today and you're in this audience, thank you. If you have more questions after, since you didn't get more than 3 minutes, see us afterward, or send us an email. All of us have the same email. It's our first name, a dot, our last name, @kcmo.org. Please email us. Tell us what's important to you, because we have between now and March, when? March 22nd, when we vote on this budget. So we need your input now rather than later. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And one of the things, this is my fourth year of budget hearings. One of the things I've learned in that 4 years, if I've learned anything, is that probably the last thing anybody wants to do at, 9:45 in the morning is hear a politician run off at the mouth. So I'll try to keep it short. But then every time I keep it short, it goes longer. Anyway, that's why I don't sit next to Scott, because first time I did that, he took the hook out.
You notice no one's sitting next to you.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. Yeah, but no, and I want to second what Heather said about our police and fire officers. If you know somebody's interested in that career, please refer them, because there are openings. We are actively recruiting, particularly for Kansas City Fire Department. They're good jobs. I mean, yeah, they have their frustrations, and they're not safe jobs. They are dangerous jobs. And it does take a period of training to try to keep them as safe as possible while they're protecting us and trying to keep us safe. And keep in mind, too, that we provide funding to the police department. We don't tell them how to use those funds. We can say, well, we are doing it with this idea in mind, but, we give them the funding. And the question is, well, would you be interested in shortening that training time? The answer is absolutely not. Our police officers are die for in this city. You look at cities all over the country, ours are better trained, they're more active, they're more skilled, they all around do a better job than probably, I think, 90% of the cities in the United States. I'd say 100%, but I don't know all 100% of them. But they are outstanding public servants, and I'm certainly very, very proud of the ones we have in the Northland. There are a couple of things I just want to address very briefly, and one that I heard from Kate Hoppy and Brenda Crum. I'm very aware of those issues. I served on the board of Northland Healthcare Access for about 12 years. I think I was chair for 3. Well, I know I was chair for 3. They got tired of me after that. But anyway, the safety net providers are very, very important and vital to our community. And I think what Northland Healthcare Access is doing with the Innovation Fund is very greatly needed in the Northland in particular, and that's access to mental health care. So, but given that, I will second also what Councilman Reed said, and keep in mind that when we look at this budget, this is all we got. We can't go out and get other money in. I mean, you can, but it's going to dribble in and we can't be certain of it. So basically, it's a fixed amount. So within that budget, if we take from one place, or if we give to one place, that means we got to take from someplace else. And some of it we can't touch because of restrictions on it. So there's only so much we can do, and we try to balance it and do it as best we can. One of the areas I'm very happy to see is a 70% increase in our street maintenance fund. You talk about potholes. In my district, there's a street that's not a pothole, it's a canyon. It goes for 2 miles long. And if you want to ruin your tires, go on 68th Street between Wacomas Drive and 169. It will. Yeah, guys.
311 yet?
No, I haven't, but I did have personal conversations within City Hall. Maybe I ought to call 311, might get more action. But anyway, yeah, they're a big problem, and it makes streets unsafe. And so our crews are doing the yeoman's job. They're really working as hard as they can to address those issues. The weather certainly makes it challenging. If we fix a pothole now, there's a good chance before spring comes it's going to pop out when we get another freeze-thaw cycle. So it's certainly a challenge right now, but hopefully we'll, with the increase in street maintenance funds, we'll be able to offset some of that. So thank you again all for coming. It's very important that we do hear from you, as my colleagues have said. And we do actually like to hear from you, and we certainly do take your comments into account. So thank you. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Councilman Fowler. Councilman Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, as well as want to thank you all for coming out and expressing the needs that you have in your districts, in your neighborhoods. One of the things that was mentioned is that this budget piece is a balancing act. And I think we try to work collaboratively in terms of across district lines, across the entire city, to make sure that each neighborhood is represented and is getting what they, as best we can, what they need. Public safety is a need across the entire city. There's not one area that has a greater need for public safety than any other. So we try to make sure that that need is covered, whether it's police, whether it's EMS, whether it's fire. So I want to thank you all for coming out. And the whole notion of healthy neighborhoods and housing is a thing that I think is important to all of us in all of the districts across the city. So we need to make sure that all of those things are funded as best we can do that.
Thank you. Councilman Taylor. That was brief.
Thank you. I just want to go through a few quick things. First of all, thank everybody for coming out on a Saturday morning, a rainy Saturday morning in Kansas City. I'm just going to go down the list. I want to respond to a few of the comments. Nancy, thanks for your leadership in the Blue Valley area and your help on the East Side Revitalization Plan. We have many of the things in this budget that were in that. Anita Gorman, I know you didn't come for this, but I think we really appreciate your leadership. Starlight is one of our crown jewels in Kansas City, and we need to keep it that way. So thank you for your comments. And I would like us to give Anita a quick round of applause for all her years of leadership. So. And another great neighborhood leader, Keith, you talked about specific things, but the area plan I want to go to because that's so important. We our planning department, I want to give a shout out to because I haven't done this enough publicly. They made a commitment to update all the area plans we have for the entire city. When this council started, we finished the job. That's done for the first time ever in the city's history. We have all the area plans updated. Many of them were 20 years old. That now allows us to go to the next step we've been talking about for a few years, which if you look in the budget, there's $150,000 to start the focus plan process. So we did a focus plan 20, 30 years ago, got a lot of neighborhood leaders involved. A lot of neighborhood leaders became neighborhood leaders because of that process with all the community meetings. This next council is going to have that exciting opportunity again to bring a lot of new people into the process of the city through this focus plan update. So I'm really excited about that. Small business, appreciate you coming out and advocating for small businesses. The $150,000 is for a couple things. We have $100,000 in for the small business incubator, Kaufman scholarships for minority businesses, $50,000 for Launch KC. We could do more. I agree with you. I've been a real advocate for small businesses, as many of us have on the council. I've talked to the city manager. He has an idea outside the budget from a private source to increase those expenditures. So we might talk to him, and if not, we will. And then I want to go to police again because, last year we did increase. This council actually increased what was proposed by the city manager. There weren't enough officers. We bumped it up to, I thought it was 23, but if it's 24. But the police chief asked for 30. And so, we have a fairly new police chief trying to do a lot of new things. We need to give the police department the tools to do what they think they need as far as resources to reduce violence in the city. And so I still think we could add more officers. I think that was a great explanation. It does take time, but we are seeing with the changes being made. Last year, I'll just give you a quick example. The clearance rate for a couple of years had been at about 50%. So if you committed a homicide in the city, you had a 50-50 shot of getting away with it. And part of that was our officers are being stretched so thin, going from call to call to call. They don't have time, one, to do community policing, but also to spend the proper time to investigate. And then we also had the issue with 911 call takers being stretched too thin, getting response times down. We addressed some of that in the budget last year, but doesn't mean we're done just because we did that. I would advocate for more police officers till we get to a level. And we started to see at the end of the year, if you looked at the clearance rate, and that's when a crime is committed, the person is arrested, and the prosecution happens, so they're off the street. We increased that from up near 80% at the end of the year. And that's where we want to be if we want to reduce crime in the city. We've got to get the clearance rate higher, like other cities like Omaha that have a higher tips rewards on their hotline. They have, I think, 25,000. We've bumped ours up, and we're seeing a direct result in increased number of tips from the community to solve these crimes. And so we need to keep doing those things and be vigilant about it, as well as all these social issues we're talking about, social programs that you'll hear from a lot of different people. Those are all positive too, but they take longer for impact. So I would advocate for more funding for police officers because it does take time to hire them, and I don't think we're there yet. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Lucas.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you all for being here. I apologize for the delay. I had a family event this morning, but it's good to be back here with you. I also want to say one of the things that's exciting about these budget hearings is that people from throughout the city come to visit. I live in the 3rd City Council District, the east side of Kansas City. I see Nancy from the Blue Valley neighborhood who came here too, so I hope you get a chance to talk to each other, and we see, frankly, how similar the issues are in different parts of the city. I also had the fortunate of being with Northland Neighborhoods earlier this week and visiting with some of you there, and it was a real honor and opportunity. I'll just say this. We often think about the budget of how we cut up the pie. And if there's one thing that's actually, I think, a real positive of our city manager, he often thinks about how we grow the pie. And you see a lot of things in this budget that relate to how we can develop our city, build stronger neighborhoods, have a healthier city, and have more Kansas Cityans that want to live here. So while we're thinking about is there enough, I also want to direct you to look at the things where we're really trying to make things better, where we're trying to make it so people can live healthier here, people can live longer, can open businesses, have greater efficiency. And that, I think, is a really important part of what we're trying to do in our budget today. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you very much. While the speeches were going on, it was a delaying tactic to see if someone else wanted to speak, and there actually is. So if you would like to come forward, sir, we'll give you 3 minutes and tell us who you are and go right ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know if the folks at home can, but go for it.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Michael Montcure. I'm a trauma surgeon at Truman Medical Center. I was at KU for about 20 years and have moved over in this last year and a half. And I've been working with the KC Public Health Department, and we're really trying to do some things, and there are a lot of efforts that curb youth violence. You just saw the article in the KC Star just recently about the number of youth that have passed away in the entire metro area. I am inspired enough by the efforts that are going on that I'm moving to KC Mo, and I already put a deposit. I'm already going to be moving from Kansas to Missouri. There's so much that's at stake from the standpoint that I just want to make sure that we're able to maintain the programs such as Aim for Peace and the Violence-Free KC and the efforts at case review of these cases to try to do things that will prevent our kids from dying needlessly. So that's my spiel, and thank you very much for giving me that time.
No, thank you for coming, and thank you for coming to Kansas City. We appreciate that very much. All right. I think that was everybody, and that's a great way to actually end the day. So I'm not going to give you much of a speech other than to thank you. This is tough. there is only so much money, and not everybody's going to be happy, which probably means then we've probably got a good budget if not everybody's happy. At least that's what I've been told in budget school. But at any rate, next week we are going to be at the Greg Kleiss Center in the 3rd District from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We hope to see some of you there. If you have friends who are interested in learning more about our budget, send them down, because the more constituents who speak, it means you have to listen to us less. And that's the equation that I want to shoot for. But again, thank you again. Thank you to the North Kansas City School District for being a great host to us. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.